Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the step-by-step process of the express entry immigration pathway. After my last video where I talked about how I moved to Canada, I got a lot of requests to go deeper into the step-by-step process of the express entry pathway, which is how I moved to Canada. So it is expected that I have a lot of information about that, and basically just talking about my experience and any tips I would have concerning that particular pathway. So that's what I'm going to be delving in today, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so like I always say in most of my videos, especially when it has to do with this particular immigration talk, I say that you should always do your research, because one person's situation is different, very different from another person's situation. The experiences are different, everything is different, so you have to do your own research. You cannot just rely on one person's experience and expect that your own experience is going to be the same. So ensure that you do your own research, look at what you have and determine what is going to be the best pathway for you. That being said, I'm going to talk about what I know. Last I checked, I cannot always keep up with this stuff because first of all, I'm not an immigration lawyer or agent, and I'm done with the process, so I'm not really into it that much. But for my experience and the little research I did for this video, I have a couple of things that I would like to tell you guys, and the step-by-step guide on how to just go into the express entry process and how it works. Okay, so guys, please follow me attentively because this video is going to go really deep. Now, the first thing you need to do when you are thinking about the express entry immigration pathway is to check if you are qualified. Obviously, I know it sounds very obvious and simple, but truth is, no matter how prepared you are, if you are not qualified for a particular immigration pathway, then you are not qualified. There's nothing you can do about it. And so you have to do that particular test to find out if you are qualified to even do the express entry, right? Now, a little bit of a background. The express entry process is for experienced workers who have the education, the knowledge, and the work experience to actually move to Canada and become workers in Canada. That's the whole idea. And in becoming workers in Canada, you then get a permanent residency. Keeping that in mind when you are thinking of going to the express entry process, then you have to understand where they are coming from when they assign certain points to certain experiences or certain features of your application. Now, the express entry is a points-based system, and that means that it attaches points to certain requirements. So for instance, you have education, you have age, you have work experience, you have English language proficiency, and now you have French. So all those things have certain scores which are attached to them, and so if you meet those requirements, then you get a particular point. Now, the accumulation of all your points will determine whether or not you are qualified to apply for the express entry. Now, I'm going to put the link in the description box. It's called the CRS ranking. That is the major tool that you can use to test if you are qualified for the express entry. Now, if you do that test and you find out that you're not qualified, do not be alarmed or do not be disheartened, because most of the things you would have to do eventually. So for instance, if you have never written the IELTS and you do that test, it will obviously say you're not qualified, but you know that you would eventually do the test. So I would advise that when you are doing the CRS ranking, you put some fictitious scores just to simulate, to find out, okay, if I have these scores, would I be qualified or not? So that's about the CRS ranking too. So that's the first step in the express entry immigration pathway. Determine if you are qualified. After you figured out if you are qualified, it now goes into the second step, which is making yourself more qualified. Looking at your qualifications and finding out other ways in which you can increase or boost your qualification factors. Now, what I mean by this is that the Canadian Express Entry does something they call a draw. after you do your application, you are put into a pool with other people who have applied as well. Now they set a cutoff mark every month, which is as frequent as they used to do the draws before. They do that every month. They set a cutoff mark, and now if you're at or above that cutoff mark, you would be invited to make a formal application. But if you are below that cutoff mark, then you have to remain in the pool until the next draw. Now the next draw, you can either boost your personal score to ensure that you meet that cutoff mark, or they might actually reduce the cutoff mark depending on their needs, depending on how many people that they need in a particular point in time. They might actually reduce the cutoff mark. Now that hasn't happened in a long time, but it is something that happens. Now for you who you are applying, you might have done the CRS ranking and you found out that okay, yes, you are actually qualified, but because you use fictitious scores for your IELTS, you might have to either do your IELTS and ensure that you have very good scores in all your sections of the IELTS, or if you've already done the IELTS but you had bad scores, then you can redo your IELTS. You can either try to get more work experience. You can decide that you need an additional certification to get you ready for the express entry. So there are so many ways of boosting your express entry score. I'm not going to go into all that right now in this particular video because time will not permit me. But the point is, this second stage is you trying to boost your scores and your qualification to ensure that you're not just qualified, but you're qualified enough to beat the cutoff. The third step is, after you have beat the cutoff and you have been invited to apply, that's what you call the ITA, invitation to apply. You are given an ITA and you are given 2 months to make a formal application. Now it's very simple. All you need to do is just to fill a form, attach all your documents, and ensure that everything is correct. Now at this stage can actually make or break your application. The first advice I'll give people when they get their ITA is to apply as soon as possible, because it's an immigration process. There's so many hundreds of thousands of people who are doing the same process with you, so you want to do as soon as possible. You should not waste any time when it comes to this immigration process, right? You should, in your mind, you should tell yourself that okay, if I'm in Canada, how would I attend to applications? I would attend to applications on a first come first serve basis. So you do not want to wait too long to put in your application. I know you have 2 months, and I know that there are so many things that you might need to do, but do not wait too long. Do not wait until the last day of the second month before you put in your application. That's only going to waste your time further. So if you can, apply as soon as you get your ITA. The second advice I'll give you during your ITA is that do not make any mistake. Mistakes are not allowed. Do not. Like, if you have to go over your application 10 times before you submit it, do that. If you have to give it to somebody to look through your application for you to ensure that there are no errors, do that. Just do not make any mistakes. Because not that if you make a mistake then you are not guaranteed to get your PR, but it's going to waste your time for that. They're going to keep sending it back to you to adjust this or adjust that, or they're going to see that there are some discrepancies between what you said you had and what you actually submitted, and they will say you are dishonest. And if you are dishonest, then you might not get your PR. So the point here is, just don't make any mistakes. If you are going to be dishonest, then be dishonest from the beginning to the end. Do not have discrepancies in your dishonesty. Make sure you are dishonest from beginning to the end. Now that's not me. I'm not saying you should be dishonest, but the point is you have to be consistent in your application. Do not make any mistakes. So that's the third step. Your ITA, you submit documents. Now at this point, I feel like before you get your ITA, once you're in the pool, you have to start making arrangements for your documentation. Do not wait until the ITA has been handed to you before you start to look for those documentations. Now you can find them online. You can find out what you need to submit, and I'm going to say a little bit here. Things like your passport, both passport photographs and your passport, international passport, you need to submit those too. You need to submit a police report saying that the period you have stayed in a particular country, in, I think as far back as 10 years. So from all the countries you have stayed in in the past 10 years, right, you have to get a police report. Now, by stayed in, I do not mean you just traveled for a 5-day vacation and came back. No, if you actually stayed or worked or schooled in a particular place for I think up to 6 months to 1 year, then you need a police report. You need a medical report. Now, you do not have to do your medical report too far beforehand because it doesn't take time. I think on the same day you can do your medicals and get your report almost on the same day, so that doesn't take time. But for your police report, especially if you have traveled to different countries, you need to start getting that ready even before the ITA is given to you. Now, for all these documentations that you have to do, right, ensure that you know the expiry or the duration that they last for. I think for the police report, I think it lasts about 3 months. The medicals last for a year. So you need to know all this information. That's why I say always do your research, right? You need to know these things because if you do your police report and you have not been given an ITA till the next 5 months, you'd have to do another police report. So there are certain things that you have to just make sure that you are watching your timing, right? To ensure that everything is in sync when you need them to be. So obviously you need to submit your certifications, your transcripts, you need to submit your IELTS results. Now by submit I mean soft copies, right? The Canadian application does not involve any form of hard copy submission. Until you are asked to submit your passport, everything before that point, Canada does not expect you to submit any hard copy documents. So that's actually a very good thing. You could just be in your house and do all your applications without spending any extra money on posting or shipping, nothing. So you just do everything from your home. So that's one thing you need to know. Now for the fourth step. The first step is basically after you have submitted all your documentation for during the ITA, you just have to wait. Now here's where the waiting game begins. You just wait. There's nothing you can do. Now I would advise you live your life. If you have a job, continue working like as if nothing else is cooking. Just keep doing all you do. Have fun, travel, do whatever you need to do because at this point in time there's really nothing you can do. So you just have to wait. Now they would call you or they'll send you an email to come for biometrics, and after the biometrics they would also send you a message to say submit your passport. Now for me, I feel like once they tell you to submit your passport, it's almost a done deal, but obviously it is not a done deal until it's a done deal. So until they give you that paper saying you have a temporary permanent residency, then obviously it's not a done deal. But then yeah, the first stage is just a waiting game. Ensure that you're always checking your profile to see if there are any messages or notifications, or if you made a mistake they might say okay, you need to resend certain documentation. Always be on top of that. Like I was always checking my profile. I was obsessed during that period. Like every day I'll just go there and check. I don't know what I was expecting to change, but I was just there always checking the progress, checking the evaluation dates, just checking because I was nervous and I was anxious, so I just had to always check. So yeah, that's the first step. And once you have been given your permanent residency, yay, you would be told when you need to travel and ensure that you travel before that date. If not, your permanent residency is going to expire. Yeah, until you get to Canada and you get the actual permanent residency card, it can still be taken away from you. Okay, so do not play with that. Do not play with that shit at all. Ensure that the day they tell you to travel before that date. Get to Canada, land, get your PR card. Then if you have to go back to Nigeria for any reason whatsoever, then you can go back. So guys, I just told you 4 very important steps in the express entry immigration process. It is very straightforward, right? I don't want to say simple, but it's very straightforward. Like as long as you know what you do, there is no complication in the whole process. Now some tips along the way. Told you about IELTS. Now you need to do your IELTS. That is like you need to ace that stuff. You need to prove that you have English language proficiency. You can speak English, you can understand, you can communicate. If you are proficient in French, then that's actually really good. You should do that to do an exam to prove that you are proficient, and that would add to your scores. Yeah, those are the 2 when it comes to languages. Now when it comes to your certifications, if you did not school in Canada, you need an ECA, and an ECA is basically submitting your documentation to a particular body for evaluation to see what the equivalence of your certificate in whatever country you went to school is with Canada's own certifications, so you must do it. The most popular body who does that is WES. I think most people know that, World Education Services, but there's also another one, I've forgotten the name, but I will check and also put that in the description box. So those bodies actually help you to evaluate your certifications to make sure that your certificates are equivalent to that of Canada's certifications. Now, I cannot tell you how to go about this process because these are independent bodies, so your experience again is different depending on your school you went to, depending on how fast your school is going to be able to respond to WES when they ask for certain information. All those things, you have to stay on top of that. But it's good that you know that this process are in betweens of the general main processes. Now the last one is about your proof of funds. Guys, about the proof of funds is a little bit complicated, or not really complicated, but it's a bit dicey. Now there are several ways of having proof of funds. You can borrow money, you can get a gift, you can have savings. Now if you're going to use your savings, or if you're going to say that your proof of funds are from your personal savings from work, then you have to be able to prove it, right? Either from work or business, you have to be able to prove it. So if it's work, then it should be like a salary account that you can attach to show that, okay, this is actually where you work and this is the money that you have been receiving and saving for the past 6 months at least. Now if it's through business, almost the same thing. You should have like a business account showing these inflows. Now for gifts, now let's say you have been working but you do not have these savings and you cannot prove that you've had these savings for the last 6 months, then the best way to go about that is by doing a gift deed. Now a gift deed is a document saying that somebody gave you money for this process and it is a gift, not necessarily a loan, and now you have to get that notarized by a notary public, a stamp, signature saying that this is actually a legal binding document. And now you have to now back that up with the actual money in your account. So if you do a gift deed and somebody says they gave you 1 million naira for this process, then you have to have that inflow in your account showing that this person's name gave you this amount on so and so day. Now for me, I did gift deed as well, and I circled that particular inflow on my proof of funds, my bank statements. I circled that and submitted that so that whoever the examiner is or officer would just see my bank statements and say, oh yeah, that is the gift deed that she attached, right? Now these are a little bit complicated, and like I said, any single bit of information I give you, do your research. And if you still want me to do another video to talk more about that particular aspect, just let me know in the comment section and I will do a video just for that. So guys, I feel like I've covered everything. Yes, there are so many things that you need to know, there are so many things that you need to do to prepare yourself for that particular process, but I feel like this is the major thing, and if you work with this, I'm very sure that you don't need any help from any agent, you don't need any help from any lawyer. You can do this stuff by yourself. That is my own philosophy, and I'm sure the fact that you are here means that you're actually willing to get that information for yourself because you want to do this by yourself. So guys, I'm here for you, right? Yamin's take on things is always here for you. So if you have more questions, jump in the comment section and I will definitely dissect that for you to the best of my knowledge, obviously. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you like more videos like this? What else would you like to learn? What else would you like to find out? If it's something that I know and I have information about it, I will let you know. It doesn't even have to be about immigration. Anything about me you want to know more about, just let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to share this to your family and friends. I know a lot of people would actually trying to do immigration right now, so this video is very timely and useful for people. So don't be selfish, okay? Share. There's love in sharing. If you're new here, please subscribe. Okay, I'm looking at myself here and I'm supposed to be looking here. So if you're new here, please subscribe. Welcome to Yamin's Take on Things. It's just fun, information, laughter right here on Yamin's Take on Things. So just hit that subscribe button and also hit your notification button so that you can know when next I post a video. Very important, guys. Okay, very important. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye.